turn right here to a Canadian blues man, Danny Marks, Toronto musician and broadcaster. You know, let's start with his legacy. He's, you know, being laid to rest today. What legacy will live on when you think of B.B. King and his music?
He was more than a musician. He was an ambassador for somebody that came from humble beginnings. He never, ever dumbed down the blues. You know, a lot of people want to dumb it down and make it about beer. He realized the nobility of this whole thing, of the simplicity, and his playing changed the way people played the guitar forevermore. Almost everybody who plays the blues is playing something that B.B. King did. And he did a lot of things first, and a lot of things he did first, like many geniuses, were mistakes that became part of a trademark and a sound. So if somebody's making a mistake, they could be really discovering their own way.
And he talked a lot about his life, and you know, you could understand how he was feeling. It just came through, not only in his lyrics, but the way he played.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, it's a simple thing that he did. He had a lick that said his name, B.B., just sharp like that. And he sang from the heart. I don't know how you get to do that, except that he worked behind a plow. He lived in Mississippi. His family didn't want him. He tried to go to Memphis. He actually ran away from Memphis the first time because he wrecked a tractor. And he came back, he paid the tractor off, then he got enough money to go to Memphis a second time, and it was the second time that stuck. He became a radio broadcaster, and that helped his musicianship. I like that story.
And you had the chance to meet B.B. King in the flesh.
I did meet him. I met him twice, and the first time I met him, I was maybe 17 or 18 years old. There was a bar in Yonge Street called Le Coq d'Or Tavern, which means the Golden Rooster. And I'd gone over there to see an American band because their drummers had the backbeat. You know, these guys came up from Detroit or something.
Oh, I know Detroit well, yeah.
You do?
Yes.
Well, I found it there at Le Coq d'Or, and I'm standing there, and the place was dark, and from out of the shadows, my goodness, it's B.B. King. Yeah. And I go, I play guitar too. And he reached into his pocket, he pulled out a pick that said B.B. King on it, and I said, "Thank you, B.B." I shook his hand, and then he was gone. I put the pick in my pocket, you know, my jeans, went home to 189 Chaplin Crescent. The next morning, I woke up. Wow, did I really meet him? I went over to my jeans, went into the pocket, and there was the pick, B.B. King. Wow. So I kept that. But the last time I met him was at Massey Hall in his last performance here. He loved Massey Hall. He loved Toronto. But you could tell that, you know, he was beyond where he could really play with the band. It was a few mistakes, a few awkward moments, but all he was doing was soaking in the love, because he went beyond blues. He went beyond music to where he was about love. And the audience, we loved him. He could feel that. And I arranged for my date, and I sneak in backstage. The security go, "Oh, I recognize you. Go ahead, go in there." And we positioned ourselves. My date had a fabulous hat on, and I had a nice hat on too. And B.B. King goes, "I love your hat." I figured he meant me, and I said, "I love you." And he came down, and we got our picture taken together, and I told him I knew Lonnie Johnson. Now, Lonnie Johnson was a legendary bluesman who lived and died in Toronto, and B.B. was a big fan of Lonnie Johnson. So we connected, and then they put him in a wheelchair, and they wheeled him out, and we looked at that sweet face, that sweet, kind man, and he was gone.
Amazing. I mean, he played well into his 80s as well. So when you talk about he was frail, but he was still going.
Oh, yeah.
What inspired you? And when we talk about your music, what inspires you when you play, when it comes to B.B. King and his influence on you?
I think it goes back to, as a little kid, the first guy I ever saw on TV that really blew me away musically was on the Ed Sullivan Show. And Ed Sullivan, right here in our show, we've got this Louis Armstrong. Let's bring him out with a big round of applause. And Satchmo would come out, "That's the way I do that." And he'd play that horn with that simple thing that he did. And B.B. did the same kind of thing with his horn, and the same kind of gravelly voice, not as gravelly as Louis Armstrong, but he did that thing. And I think that spirit, in 1970, I believe it was, I awoke from a terrible dream that B.B. King died. And I was just heartbroken. I went down and I looked in the paper. The morning paper said, "Louis Armstrong dead." And that's when I realized these guys had that same spirit. So for me to if I can take a tiny piece of that, and when I go out and remember, smile at the audience, be aware, be around, be about the love.
Feel it.
And rather than, because B.B. went beyond the so-called blues world, like Louis went beyond jazz, and he got richer as he got older.
Okay, we want to get to the good stuff. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you play us out?
I can play you out a little bit, and I think this is the song everybody would probably gone, 'cause memory lives on. The thrill is gone, thrill is gone away. Thrill is gone, baby. Thrill is gone away. Yes, it has. I know I did you wrong. I'll be a better man someday.